go, inshallah. Hopefully, through our discussion, you'll really understand what this means. It is called dhawq. Someone possesses dhawq. Anyone wants to guess what that really means? Good taste is definitely a big part of it. Anyone would like to add to what Abdul Samad said? Yes, sister. Class. To have class. See, Islam always preaches moderation. Moderation is the key. Extremes are always rejected in any kind of behavior. So, for example, excessive spending, lavish spending, what is the exact opposite of that? Miserly? Being miserly, just being extremely stingy. Either of those is okay? No. What is the middle ground that Islam preaches? What's the word? Everyone knows it, but you might not really know the word. What's the word? Frugality. They use the word frugality to describe, being careful with how you spend. So you're not stingy, right? But you're not lavishly spending either. What about cowardice? What is the opposite of cowardice? Bravery? No, bravery is a good thing. Bravery is the middle ground. Arrogance? Not necessarily. I mean, it's probably something that is driven by arrogance, but it's not arrogance. Not anger. Foolhardiness, they call it. You're foolhardy. You're really like, it is one thing to be coward, but it's a completely different story to go and take on like 10 guys. They'll break you to small pieces, right? So if you're supposed to fight, for example, in the battlefield, running away is coward, but taking on, a formidable enemy is foolhardy, right? So you're not supposed to do either of those, so you have to be measured with your bravery. That is what Islam preaches. What about arrogance? What is the absolute opposite of arrogance? No, humbleness is a good thing. See, humbleness is the middle ground. In terms of akhlaq, and the Islam always teaches you the two extremes and defines the middle ground that needs to be followed. So what is the opposite of arrogance? Well, fearful would definitely be part of that. I think they call it meek. If you're just so you're very meek. You're docile, I think is another word they use. Even with exercise, I love this example. What is the exact? What is the exact? Is being an exercise freak a good thing? I think that would also be an extreme. What is the exact opposite? The total opposite of being an exercise freak? Obese is a consequence. Lazy, couch potato, whatever you guys want to call it. Even in matters of ibadah, the Prophet ﷺ, taught us, and the Quran taught us, when you pray by yourself, for example, when you pray by yourself, you're not in Salatul Jama'ah, but you pray by yourself, right? Are you supposed to be loud, or are you supposed to say it all privately inside? Those are the two extremes. What is the middle ground? The Quran explicitly says, وَلَا تَجْهَرْ بِصَلَاتِكَ وَلَا تُخَافِتْ بِهَا وَابْتَغِ بَيْنَ ذَلِكَ سَبِيلًا. Do not be loud, so that other people can hear you, and don't be so silent and private that you can't hear yourself. It has to be in the middle. So you whisper in your salah to the extent that you can hear, but other people can't. Does that make sense? Right? So you're not like some people, they're doing their salah, it's all in their heads. No, it's not the sunnah to do that, right? Or everyone can hear you and everyone is distracted. You can't do that either. So ابتغي بين ذلك سبيلا. Find a middle ground. This is what the Prophet ﷺ always teaches us. Same applies to the matter of dhawq. Dhawq is an overarching, all-encompassing khuluq, moral or character, quality, that strikes a middle ground between extremes, and it has three manifestations. Two of them you guys already talked about. The sister talked about class. Having class, being a classy person, right? I don't think that in the masajid we usually talk about the class. What is class? What is the meaning of having class? It is sort of a moderation between two extremes, right? There is pretentiousness, if you're extremely pretentious and being, all showy. And then there is austerity where, you just don't care about appearances whatsoever. But having class is somewhere in the middle. The Prophet ﷺ had preferences when it comes to clothing. He would wear everything whenever he's gifted, but he would prefer suits or thawbs that are white, right? That was his preference, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Not green. We always have this idea that, green is the color of Islam. Not necessarily. The Prophet ﷺ loved white, right? So he had preferences in terms of clothes, alayhi salatu wassalam. So it's okay for you to want to look good, to want to eat, certain, delicious foods, and you have your own preferences as a Muslim. So it is not that, we're being, such a pain in the neck, and there are very specific things like, I'm not just vegan, I am vegan, and there's this 65 things that I don't eat either. And so you go to someone's house and you keep asking complicated questions about ingredients in every single item of food that is being presented. Oh, I can't touch this. Oh, I can't eat this. I have preferences against that. Oh, this is against my morality. All these kinds of... Versus someone that has no preferences whatsoever. Right? You give them dirt, they'll eat it. The Prophet ﷺ had a preference. What is the food that he loved the most? Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The shoulder, the scapula bone right here? So the Prophet ﷺ used to love that tender meat on the scapula. That was his preference, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it's not there, he's not going to stop eating, right? But if there are different kinds of food, he would actually choose lahmul katif, they called it. So class is number one. Number two, being sensitive. Being sensitive to other people. You have dhawq. You measure your words before you say them. You think about your facial expressions, your body language. You always think, how will my words impact the listener? How will people take what I'm saying right now? And you're walking this fine line, right, between two extremes. Because you might start schmoozing to people and all you care about is how they think. And then your behavior is just a reflection of other people and their preferences, and that too is wrong. That is an extreme. And the other extreme is just being harsh. I don't care what people say. Right? I'll just say it as it is. The Prophet ﷺ would stand in the middle. So he would give advice. He would make his opinions known, but he would use good language and select the best time to do it, and so on and so forth. Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. So you avoid offending people and you avoid schmoozing to them either. And number three is I think it was one of the brothers here said, good taste. To appreciate certain sublime qualities of life, right? Without going into any of the extremes, right? So you're not, having extreme preferences and you're not ignoring them either. So this transparent, this beautiful, noble quality of walking this fine line again between certain extremes. And we live in a society of extremes. In America, it's either you have people that are very harsh and judgmental and profane, and you see them in the movies. Everyone has a person like this in their lives. They just, they're using the harshest of words, they dump it on you. Versus other people who are so apologetic in their speech, to the extent that whatever they say sounds like a question. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Whatever they say sounds like a question, Would you like to come into my house? How are you feeling today? Are you okay? There's always this, like I'm worried they might get offended. So I make it sound like a question, right? I don't like that. That is extremely meek. You need to strike a balance, right? So you're somewhere in the middle, right? You take into consideration, people's feelings and so forth, but you still find a way to make your opinions known. So we live in a society of extremes. And dhawq, sort of like teaches us how to strike that balance with good taste, right? While still enjoying some of the sublime qualities of life, and avoid going into any of the extremes. Let me share with you, inshallah, quickly some applications of dhawq. When it comes to rendering advice, for instance, what was the Prophet's method of giving people advice? That is not a rhetorical question. Say again? He would speak in general terms. Now, what happens if you go to someone in public in front of everyone and say, Malik, remember what you did last week? That was horrible, man. In front of everyone. What's going to happen to him? I disgraced my brother in front of everyone if I do that. So that's wrong. We can't do that. Now, what if I take Malik to the corner and tell him, hey Malik, by the way, what you did last week, that was horrible, man. You can't do that. How is he going to feel? He's still going to feel offended. Not necessarily disgraced, but he's going to feel offended. He might feel like, who are you to say this stuff to me? So what does the Prophet ﷺ do? He would make generic statements in a gathering. So if, he would say, مَا بَالُ أَقْوَامٍ يَفْعَلُونَ كَذَا وَكَذَا. Why is it that some people, do this and some people do that? Just make it very generic and indirect without targeting someone with a specific advice. You know the story of the camel? Of the camel meat? You know that story? It's a very interesting story, but the gist of it is that it has to do with dhawq in giving advice. So the Prophet ﷺ, they were with the companions and they prayed dhuhr together, and it was like a bit before Asr. So after they prayed dhuhr, they slaughtered a camel and they were eating from it. And while they were eating, one of the Sahaba, let out gas loudly. And everyone could hear it. Right? It's the most embarrassing thing. The Prophet is there, 40 companions are there, and then you do something like that. It probably was a mistake or whatever. So now it's Asr time. And everyone supposedly has their wudu because they prayed dhuhr right before. So one person is now going to leave this gathering in order to make wudu, and everyone's going to know it was this guy. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ, again, as a teacher and as a mentor, he was thinking about this. How can I mitigate this situation? We can't let the brother pray without wudu either. He might be so embarrassed to leave that he would rather pray without wudu. Or he might be, the one disgraced person that walks out of the crowd and goes to make wudu. Yes, it was me. Sorry. So he didn't want any of this to happen. So he, ﷺ, basically said, anyone that ate camel meat with us today is going to go make wudu right now. He had everyone make wudu. We don't even want to know who this person is. Let's all make wudu in solidarity with our brother. See, dhawq, just good taste. This is refined manners of the Prophet ﷺ. Just think about the small details. And they all went, and subhanAllah, from a fiqhi standpoint, the Hanbalis, they take this hadith and another similar story, I think, that is also narrated at the time of Umar ibn Khattab. They take this hadith that suggests that, the camel meat actually breaks your wudu. So in their fiqh, you have to make wudu after eating camel meat, which, in my judgment, is a really laughable matter. Because, and this is what happens. Remember what I said yesterday, when a fiqhi discussion is disconnected from the rest of Islamic sciences, this is how we err, and this is how we make mistakes. Man akala lahma jazurin falyatawadda. Whoever eats, camel meat needs to make wudu. They say, okay, that means it breaks your wudu. The rest of us would say, well, the Prophet was just talking about that particular situation in order to save that brother from embarrassment. Right? Now, another manifestation of good taste is the prophetic guidance on speaking in privacy when you have a group of 3 or 4 people. So if you're 3 and 2 start talking to each other privately, in the presence of a third person, what happens? The other person would either feel that he or she is left out, or they would feel like maybe they're talking about me. Right? What is the modern equivalent of that today in our community? Exactly. Speaking another language. So you have, two Arab and one Pakistani. And the Arab, they start going at it, together, and the Pakistani is just sitting there. La 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 la. Right? Or a group of Pakistanis speaking to each other in Urdu, and then there is this convert, that doesn't really, or even a kid in the community, or a youth that doesn't necessarily understand Urdu and just sits there, feeling left out. Prophetic guide, especially this happens, especially in social gatherings. And as the Imam, I get invited to so many events. So, the Turks invite me to their dinners, the Pakistanis invite me, the Bosnians invite me, the Latinos invite me. So I'm always like the odd Arab guy, and everyone else speaks a different language, right? So I feel it when I just sit there and everyone is just blabbing on with their native language, and I feel kind of weird, to be honest with you. Sort of like, you feel it, you understand how people feel when someone gives the khutbah in Arabic and then they don't understand a single word. It's just the most awkward thing. You sit there for 30 minutes without getting anything out of it. It's just depressing, right? So again, that is all against the prophetic guidance. Prophetic guidance is that if there's a room that is filled with 50 people and one person doesn't understand the language, everyone needs to speak the language of that person. Make sense? So even if you have this gathering at your home and they're all Arabs, and you invited one person that doesn't understand Arabic, then the language of conversation needs to be something that this person understands, English or whatever it is. Make sense? This again has to do with a refined sense of taste, just sublime morality that the Prophet ﷺ demonstrated. Another example, we often point out mistakes and flaws and faults and shortcomings in people. We're very, very speedy when it comes to, oh, look, you did this. Like someone makes a small mistake in their salah, right? Oh, you're not supposed to make tashahhud like this. Oh, no. Oh, you did it. But how often do we actually say thank you to people when they do something good? Do you ever go to someone, mashallah, your salah today was really amazing. I was inspired with the way you prayed. Do you ever say that? Like we don't really say that. When we expect people to do something for us and they don't do it, we get so upset. But when they do it, we say thank you in passing. And the Prophet ﷺ again says, "Man lam yashkur nas, lam yashkurillah." If you don't show gratitude to people, then you won't be able to show gratitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because gratitude is a character that builds up over time. It's a choice of your life. And you need to learn how to show gratitude to your brothers and sisters, again, the horizontal, so that you are able to show gratitude to the Creator subhanahu wa ta'ala. In the Quran, لا تدخلوا بيوتا حتى تستأنسوا وتسلموا على أهلها. Don't enter homes until you build rapport with the family in that home and ask permission before you enter. So asking permission, we get that. But what about this rapport thing? It means, you see the refined sense of taste? It means don't put the family in an awkward position. Maybe they're not ready to host you right now. So don't impose yourself. You know what? What are you guys making for dinner tonight? Biryani? Awesome, I'll be there. Right? That is, it's not necessarily haram. Did I say that any of this is haram? I didn't say it was haram. I just said it's not dhawq to do this. It's not beautiful. It is not pure. It's not clean. It's not sublime to do that. The Prophet ﷺ, you have to measure the situation. Are they in good place to invite me? Is my relationship with them strong enough? Do we have this rapport? So it becomes easy for me to be, a good guest and they a good host. You ask those questions, that is the meaning of tasta'nisu. Let me see if I have one last example here. I do have a couple more examples, but I'd rather that, give you guys 5 minutes, inshallah, to again do your little mental exercise, and we're going to put it on the table. We'll be done, inshallah, by hopefully 2:15. And the reason I ask you to do that exercise, together, because you'll be able to come up with realistic problems that you experience, as opposed to some of the stuff I might say that would be abstract or esoteric, or whatever, or pertains to my own experience. So I would like for you guys to, again, generate a list of 2 items that we practice that are totally void of any class, of any good taste, and two things that we need to do that would be beautiful and sublime. And don't tell me halal and haram stuff. I don't want to hear it. I'm talking about things that are all permissible. It's just, they represent much better class. So I'll give you 5 minutes, inshallah, and then we come back. We put him on the whiteboard, and then I'll let you out of here around 2:15, inshallah. So yalla, get to work. 5 minutes, inshallah. Bismillah. Yes, brother. Not every single time, but yes, many times he would do that. Yeah.
At this time, just he want to hide the persons who pass the gas. But I heard most of the time he do fresh wudu for every.
Yeah, but this time he specifically wanted because he asked everyone else. Yeah.
Just to hide the person.
Mm-hmm. Who's your wife? Oh, okay, yes. Actually, I just forwarded to one of the sisters. If you give me your email address, I should be able to forward you the link right now. What are you doing? Do I look like a clown? Do I look like a clown? What is your email address, bro?
ISE
ISE
graphics GRAS@mac.com.
Like in cars one? You can. You can. You can. Why can't you? I think you can.
Let's see if this works. Yeah, for some reason I have strong coverage here on T-Mobile. Doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Maybe they have signal jammer.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the brothers had it. Yeah, that one right there. Yeah. It wasn't my copy though. Yeah.
The one on the chair. Like right here.
Yeah, it's that book right there on the chair. Yeah, that's the one.
I'm right about
Mm-hmm.
being a real man and our society and how things are being lost with families and all this other stuff. But anyway, this would be a good guide to. I don't know exactly what the book is about. She told me a little bit about it.
Right, something like that. I'm pretty sure you're going to find a lot of good guidance and insightful things in that book. Awesome, for sure. If it was written about 800 years ago. It is in English. Okay. Yeah, the translation is not great, but you'll get the gist, and it directly speaks to the heart. So it's gonna get to work a part of your brain that you don't really use that often.
That doesn't get the sound.
Yeah. So it's always a good thing. A pleasure to meet you, brother. Alaikum salam. You guys, 1 minute, inshallah. All right, you guys, time's up. All right, who wants to start? So we have what is dope over here, and for the lack of a better word, dopeless. Sorry for the mixing up the languages here, but you guys get the point, right? So, what would constitute in a good taste in class that we need to be doing that we're not doing? Mhm. Engine on the food. I could not put it better. Best characterization. Wasn't it funny? SubhanAllah, that's so true. You know how we resolved that problem in our community? The first serving, the first batch, we usually have servers. So volunteers, like you guys did yesterday, like the sisters were serving food. So we would always have volunteers, and then we would measure, we would portion, the amount, and then after everyone ate something, we give them the tables. So you guys come back, you take seconds, whatever you want. See, this definitely is a huge problem, and because in Western societies we're used to excess, and we have a sense of entitlement. So we come to the masjid thinking, this is ours, and this food belongs to us, and I'm entitled. People in Ramadan, we see them, they fight. They cut the line, and they fight, and they want more, even when volunteers are serving. Volunteers who haven't eaten yet, who are waiting to feed everyone, and then they eat whatever that's left, and community members yell at them, oh, give me another piece of chicken. Brother, everyone gets one piece, inshallah, until everyone eats, and then you can come back for second or three, if you're still hungry. And then they start yelling at them. It's absolutely shameful, for sure. In matters of food, if you guys grew up in, those of you who grew up in the Middle East, asking for food is a big no, right? Even if you're invited to someone's house, like growing up, oh my God, if I ever say to the host, I want some candy, or even show interest, my mother would take me outside, squeeze my ears to the extent of destruction, and then brings me back, and I learned my lesson. Right? Growing up, you can never ask for food. Matter of fact, if they offer you food, you're expected to say no a couple of times. Right? Now, some people might consider this always complicated or whatever, but this is how you grow with this class, and you grow independent. And then I get it, I don't get it, it doesn't really matter. Today, people visit each other, and the kids are going around like shayateen, around the house, just toppling stuff over and grabbing stuff from the kitchen or whatever, completely out of it. That is total lack of taste. As opposed to go sit and show respect. If the host offered you something, you may or may not take it, it's up to you, but you never ask for it. Right? That character, unfortunately, this type of honor anymore, right? So this definitely is um, a matter of both. I mean, I guess it could fall under both categories. If we put it here, then we're basically saying that we need to have both in matters of food, or if we put it there, then we're highlighting a problem that already exists. But it doesn't matter. What else? Yes. Right. So this would be voteless, right? Yeah, ask about how food was prepared. Yeah.
So the opposite of that, which is someone who is hopeless, if you know the person is vegetarian or vegetarian, and you invite them, then you eat.
Yes, if you know and you decided to bring them to your own home, then you actually have to make a declaration. Hey, by the way, guys, I bought all the meat from the halal store. So everyone please feel comfortable, dig in type thing. Well, dig in is not really kosher. It's not necessarily the right Islamic word to say. But it's doubtless. But I totally agree with that. It works both ways. In general, whenever you go to someone's home and you're offered food, since we're talking about food, is it proper though to make your opinion known about the food? Like I see some people who they try to use a subtle way to do it. They taste something and they really didn't like it, so they try to cover it with a towel or give it to their son or whatever, as opposed to telling the host, what is this? And then it's broccoli soup. Oh, broccoli. Where is the broccoli? Is there any broccoli in it? Did you forget the broccoli? Right? So this is totally wrong. When you're being hosted at someone's house as a guest, you show the utmost respect. How was the food? Mashallah, it's the most delicious thing I've ever eaten. And that's it. That is the extent of your responsibility. Just be nice and maybe later on using again, see we talked about the prophetic method to give advice. If you care about that sister so much and you don't want her to keep making this horrible soup. So maybe say, oh, I know you like broccoli soup, so I found this amazing recipe on the internet. Here's the link. And then the sister is reading something that has nothing to do with the recipe she's been using for years. But then, this would be an appropriate way of giving that advice that has class.
How about when it comes to husband and wife? Maybe a wife is very patient, or maybe a husband is as well, vice versa. But the husband is very calm, stuff to himself. Doesn't want to say anything.
Lifetime of bad food, it hurts. It eventually hurts. No, I would say get involved in the kitchen. What is wrong with that? What does it take to really make good food? Understand recipes and proportions and stuff like that. So if you don't like your wife's food, get to work. Teach her in a subtle way. Come up with really nice recipes, and then she'll be, oh my God, that was so delicious. How'd you make it? And then you tell her how you made it, and so on and so forth. Watch the Food Network together. I honestly, like with my wife and I, this is a big form of entertainment for us. Like when we would like to relax and just unwind at the end of the day. In college we used to watch Everybody Loves Raymond. But as of late, like 5-6 years ago, we unwind by watching the Food Network. It's just great entertainment. It's amazing drama. And then every once in a while, my wife picks good recipes, and then she tries. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I'm her husband. I'm supposed to be supportive. That was amazing. How did you make this? Let's not do it. So that would be better than just telling her you're a bad cook. You might want to get involved in the kitchen and help her out. Yes, ma'am.
I think you have to be careful when it comes to food because there's this man who
they would find a positive, constructive, loving way to share that advice as opposed to your food sucks. Type statement. Yes, bro.
I heard when you go to someone's house, whatever they give for you, you can use, but only you can ask the water and the salt.
You can ask about what?
Water and the salt from the home.
Again, I'm not suggesting that any of this is a matter of right or wrong or halal or haram. Even if you go to someone's house and ask for food, I'm hungry, make me a sandwich. It's not haram to do that. It's not wrong to do that. It's
But
just classless.
from class, you can ask the water and salt.
I guess with water, because you're very thirsty, and can I get some water, please? I think that would be okay.
Whatever they provide, and I just had gone in a group. I used to go in Jamaat,
Yeah.
in Jamaat, Tablighi Jamaat.
Mhm.
A rich person invited 40 people. So we all eat and all eating, and one person, and not a full, but then one person said, little more than me. So he said, I'm sorry, it's too much.
I see.
So that's a dish we made. Even though that person is rich and we were, with 40 people and we made it.
Because there might not be enough food for them. Totally agree. Let's add a couple more things, inshallah, to the list. Yes.
I have a couple of things which I wanted to bring up. So, at my work, we have a couple of, actually more than a couple of Muslims who don't show up at the prayers, on the Jummah prayers. And so, one of the ways we found one of the ways we found it easy to invite them, so it's no confrontation, because it can be confrontation.
Yeah.
Especially at work, it's not just that these are people that we know, but also it's the workplace, so there's a little bit of concern. We just crack up a joke or something as such, so like one of the common things we do with them is here that, we knock on their door, are you coming? We said, why? Where are you going? Let's go to the prayers. And then they're like, because the Imam told us that we're going to start until you show up with us. So it's like a way of diffusing the
Right.
situation. So that's
Right.
something I've done, and I've done successfully. It works very well.
Make it into a joke and make it lighthearted.
Very lighthearted.
Yeah.
And then if they miss it, then I go back and the guy started really late. He was asking for
It's all on you, man. Yeah.
So I mean I know it goes into the area of it's sort of as a lie, in some sense, but at the beginning it's like that's
No,
the
but
only way,
he knows it's a joke. So
yeah, that's the only way you can have that conversation. So that's one thing. And the second thing was that don't take offense if it's something which is personal. There's this story of Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he was in a battle and he was fighting with some person. And he was really into it, and then the guy spat on his face. And then Ali radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he walked away. And the man said, why did you stop fighting? He said, before I was fighting you for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The moment you spat on me, I became so angry that I was afraid I'm taking revenge from you for insulting me personally. The last example is of a sister who she lives in an apartment complex, goes to pick up ladies. Her kids are with her, in an apartment complex with the lady boxer at a distance. So while she's picking up the ladies, she has her kids with her because they're young. A guy walks by and looks at her. She has her hijab, and he tells her, he's like, go and tell your husband, by just looking at her, very stereotypical person, and he has his own son with him. He tells her, go and tell your husband to kick your way. He of course uses a different word, so I'm just using it, making it masjid safe. He's like, go and tell him to kick your such and such. She was so mad, but she looked at him and she was like, you are being a good example for your kids, aren't you? And she walked away. She didn't yell at him, she didn't use any of the swear words, just gave him something very
Right.
simple. And the guy, his face turned red, and he never did that to me. He of course did not expect her to speak perfect English. So
Exactly. I would definitely include, controlled temper. This would be we're shedding a different light here on anger. When we treat it as a matter of class, as opposed to the conventional way by which anger is discussed, in our discourse, people who have controlled temper are classy. Because you're not letting some limited amount of perfume. The Prophet ﷺ, when asked, he used to say, among the things I love the most about this world is perfume. Of course, it begets a little edgy with the sisters, Oh, there's a hadith that says, if a woman wears perfume, she will not even smell Jannah, right? But it doesn't mean that we walk around sweaty and smelly and just like, disgusting. It doesn't mean that. You can wear a limited amount of perfume or deodorant or whatever. You're not projecting any smell, but if you hug another sister, they smell nothing but good. Right? Same applies to the brothers. I don't like to be pretentious and wear perfume that everyone can smell. Okay, we're smelling something out of you. It could be perfume, it could be something else. That's a choice you have to make. Right? And I really think that the matter of cleanliness really matters. You can't, because you're coming to the masjid sometimes with careless. Like for Allah, I'm a little bit embarrassed wearing these clothes. I'm giving a talk, but I'm on the way to the airport and I don't know if I'll be able to change or not, so I decided to just come with my jeans. But this outfit is not appropriate for the kind of stuff that I'm trying to do. So generally speaking, I think when we come to the masjid, we think it's just the masjid, right? So you grab the slippers, and you grab, whatever abaya or pants you have, it has stains or whatever, and then you just go to the masjid because it's just the Muslim community. We're all brothers and sisters. While Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Be in your best shape when you come to the masjid, right? And the Prophet ﷺ would wear nice clothes and wear beautiful perfume and take a shower before he goes to the masjid, right? So the issue of cleanliness, smell, and appearance is also very significant when it comes to class. You have to have the refined taste. People never smell something good out of you. We never hear a bad word out of you. We never see you in a shady position. You're always wearing nice, clean, beautiful clothes. You don't have to be, extremely expensive, right? But you can't be like totally, low and neglectful either. It has to be, again, as the ayah says. Yes?
Listen, on the smell also make sure not to go to the other extreme. Because sometimes we wear too much perfume, and we give them a hug and they're crying.
Yeah, that is extremely offensive as well, because now you are forcing people to smell something that may or may not necessarily like. And when you hug them, now you smell like them, right? Well, that's not my favorite perfume. Why did you put this on me right now? So I totally agree with you, brothers and sisters. Both it applies to both of us. That's why I said a small amount of perfume, so that when people come very physically close to you, they smell something pleasant. That's all. I know, like Arabs specifically, they kind of pour perfume. Like they finish half a bottle in one session. That is definitely not acceptable here. In American culture, it's certainly not acceptable. Generally speaking, it is excess. And I said that Velk is about moderation, right? Yes.
Some people could be allergic to perfume.
Some people are, for sure. So you have to keep that in mind as well, yes.
Yeah, about the golf and golfers. One, we use golfers. Sometimes we have together in America. I don't know about the other.
This is going to become a word now.
It's being curious. Like, it's one of our countries in the video call. Like, how much money do you get it? Like, how much? This kind of quoting or like knowing, basically treating life as if it's a religion. That you have to know every single detail of the series, what's going on, and sometimes, like, you try to be nice and give hints, like, okay, alhamdulillah, I'm going to be blah, blah, blah. But, like, how much do you take from me?
Right.
Exactly.
How much is your monkey payment? Nosiness or excessive acquisitiveness would obviously be classless. I mean, oh, mashallah, such a nice car. May Allah bless it for you, guys. That's it. Unless, and maybe later, if you're in the market for a similar car, hey, by the way, I really wanted your advice because I plan to get a similar car. So I just wanted to say ballpark figure, what do you think is appropriate? So you're not asking the price either. You're just saying, what do you think would be an appropriate payment for this car? And then he or she would make a suggestion, and that's it. If the other person opts to share with you the details, then that's fine. It's
before we conclude? Yes.
I think, it's being from the good places should be upfront as opposed to trying to make things right. So let me give you a couple of examples. People who want to go for Jummah, sometimes they won't tell their boss that, this is my third time because they're so concerned. Are they going to get it? What are they going to think of me? Are they going to fanatic? I'm telling you, at my work, I've been working, I have 3 or 4 different positions in the same company. Every manager, the first day I have told them is that this time I am available. So I am available to you for 38 hours in the week. Anytime you call me, I'm there. But these 2 hours I have to take off. And can you believe that until now, in the 8 years at my company, not once have they scheduled a meeting at that time. And if they do, they apologize to me in advance. Actually, people appreciate it when you are upfront. I sometimes go with a couple of people from work. We go on a motorcycle tour. And I'm telling you, when it's time for prayers, I will tell them it's time for prayers. You know what happens now when we go out? They're like, do your prayers, and they stand around you. And they're like, we are in the mountains, and there are all sorts of people. So we're going to watch on you, or watch for you, while you do your prayers. So being upfront really comes in.
Absolutely. That's a fair point, and I included it. Find a beautiful, classy way to be upfront and straightforward. Not make it a matter of, this is my religious obligation, and, I hope that the company is not going to commit bigotry against me and just make a civil rights case out of it. Just do it in a nice way. That would definitely cut it for sure. Yes, brother.
A lot of times we do favors for people, and I think it's important. That's enough. We do favors for people, and after finishing the favor, I did this for Aziz, or I did this, or I did this, and we end up talking about the favors that we do, just so that we get the recognition, and we want people to know, hey, I'm a good guy, or I'm a good gal,
Right.
and
Right.
this happens quite a bit. We're not modest about it. Everybody has something that I think is pretty, even helping somebody else with, if they're in financial difficulty, or
Yeah.
I have this family.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a fair point as well. You do someone a favor, you buy someone a gift, and then you go later and rub it in their noses, right? So you buy something, a nice leather jacket, and then in a big social gathering, so how's the jacket, mashallah, looks so nice on you. You know how much I paid for that jacket? The Quran calls it al-man was-salwa, right? You're not supposed to do man, which is basically, brag about something that you have done, someone else, by way of boasting and showing off and letting everyone know, hey, I got him this thing. This would definitely be classless as well. The what?
It actually destroys the good deeds, not because
Yeah. I know I took so much of your time. We were supposed to start at 10, so we started at 10:30, so I guess it was still 4 hours, alhamdulillah. But I apologize if we went a little over time. So let us, inshallah, again make a quick dua together to conclude the gathering. I think it's a beautiful thing that you guys have the energy to sit through a session of learning for 4 hours. Not that many people in this modern world have that type of attention span. So, you definitely are a very special group. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless each and every one of you. اللهم لك الحمد كما ينبغي لجلال وجهك وعظيم سلطانك. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. اللهم اجعل جمعنا هذا جمعا مرحوما واجعل تفرقنا من بعده تفرقا معصوما ولا تجعل معنا ولا بيننا شقيا ولا محروما ولا مطرودا من رحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. Ya Allah, we ask you to bless our brothers and sisters, increase them in iman. Ya Allah, we ask you to strengthen their hearts and to help them repel evil with good. Ya Allah, we ask you to make us among those who benefit from what we learn and those who learn what benefits them. And as you gathered us in this beautiful place with these hearts and with these intentions, wanting to learn and grow and get closer to you and know you better and serve you through serving your creation, Ya Allah, we ask you that you give us nothing in return but the highest and the most beautiful ultimate goal, and that is your love, your content, and your pleasure with us. And Ya Allah, we ask you with that to give us your Jannah as well. Allahumma ameen. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdik nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun wa salamun ala al-mursaleen walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.